Okay.
We are on. Echo, but you put echo. Can you move? You can it. You can move. Oh, okay. You go there. You sit on one end of that. See? All right. Episode 2.
1 second.
Yeah, once he gets off his phone, we'll start episode 2.
You'll start recording?
Yeah, start as record.
Sorry, cut it out.
Yeah. Now we'll keep it. Is that anything that's getting to it? Because
It's not natural on camera. He's like, as soon as the podcast started, he's changed.
what? How do you mean?
Everyone should know that Suze is his podcast persona. He's not actually himself.
Okay,
Shut up.
This is the podcast me. Yeah, so we have today Tintu. Oh yeah, we can see Tintu. He's a guest. Guest number 1. Guest number 2, we have Jordan, our good friend. And yeah, Sunny and me, Suze. Again, we're recording this second episode today. We're at Sunny's house in the Hills District in Sydney. It's a lovely area. Yeah, we meditated for an hour this evening and then went out to get some dinner. We're just chatting here over here.
Greek food.
We had Greek food, really nice. What was the place called? The Greek.
Greek, yeah.
Yeah, wrap was really nice. Yeah. Where did we end the recording last time, Sunny?
Why would when it end?
You know, what was the last thing we discussed in the last episode? Yeah,
Are we still? You want me to get in
Beyond the Cushion. Beyond the Cushion. Yeah, actually,
the name of the pod. Why do we call it Beyond the Cushion? The reason being is because when we talk about cushion, we're talking about meditating, right? We usually sit on a meditation cushion. And I'm topically crossing my legs now, just for comfort, not to, But yeah, the reason it's called Beyond the Cushion is because we're talking about things which are not related to meditation, sort of like the scope of like, okay, we meditate, but let's talk about our other aspects of our lives and how the meditation actually relates to design. That's the main thing, I guess, like,
Yep.
And how does it affect other parts of our lives? How it all relates, So yeah, we have Jordan here today. He's a very serious meditator. And yeah, we thought he would be an interesting guest to have on the podcast. And we don't have any other podcast yet. But yeah, Jordan, how you going, man?
Yeah, well, thanks for inviting me to your podcast. I like to know. Yeah, I think it's a good note. Yeah, I think it's a cool thing to like kind of have a podcast just sort of shedding light about the lives of meditators and sort of like, I guess, how meditation can get incorporated into one's own life. I think it's like be a good insight to people who are thinking about doing a course or wanting, or they've already started a course and they're sort of wanting to figure out how it all integrates. Yeah.
When you say course, like, I guess people don't know about your background. What do you mean when you say did a course? Because most people's meditation experience it doesn't really come from there. The idea of meditation is like fucking that app or the fucking guy with the island. That fucking headspace, Yeah, most people, their view of meditation is take a fucking life hack, calm down, work more.
Yeah.
What's a course to you? What's your experience with meditation? How did you get into?
Yeah. Well, for a course for us, all of us here, we've done a course a 10-day meditation course, which in the traditional Western Goenka. So they're 10-day residential courses where we're silent for the first 9 days and we're, learning a very specific meditation technique called Vipassana meditation. I mean, the first 3 days we're learning how to concentrate our mind, the first 2.5 days rather. And on the fourth day, we're taught to systematically scan through our body to observe sensations and develop our equanimity or develop a sort of like calm state of mind and not a non-reactive mind. And on the last day, we learned a new technique called metta meditation or loving kindness. So that's sort of like the closing part of the technique. And so they all work together in sort of helping us develop a more clearer mind and more compassion, more caring, I guess, to other fellow human beings. But to answer your second question about how I got into it, for me, it started off as a necessity. So
How?
so when I started my first course, I was 22 years old. So this is back in 2016. But before my first course, how I became interested in meditation was out of the necessity. I just finished high school. I went to uni and I was studying psychology initially. I was thinking about becoming a clinical psychologist, but I think after my first year, I wasn't really getting the grades for it. And I quickly, sort of came to the realization that wasn't going to be something that I was going to pursue. I ended up changing to a Bachelor of Commerce, only because I wasn't really sure what else I wanted to do. And I sort of had the understanding that it was a very, very flexible degree. It allowed, opened up opportunities to different areas and didn't really have to put myself in a particular sort of box, so to speak. But I think after my first year, I realized that I didn't see myself being, working in the corporate sort of environment because I already sort of made that sort of commitment. And I felt like if I were to switch course again, I'd probably still not be satisfied and I would have to like switch again. And it sort of made me feel like this sense of helplessness, like that I was locked into something that I knew deep down that it wasn't really going to bring me any sort of fulfillment.
Is this a uni degree?
Yeah. And so I looked for ways to kind of cope. And I knew that, being disciplined or developing some sort of healthy habits would enable me to best use of my time. And so I loved, when I started trying to develop like an exercise routine. I started weight training, started taking cold showers in the morning and the evening. And after I came back from uni, and then I started meditating in the morning just by stuff I read online. And so that was like sort of the introduction about started meditating. And during that process, I had a few sort of interesting experiences. With the meditation and with the cold showers in particular. That got me really interested in learning more about it.
And you said one of your aunts who lives in Europe told you about it for the first time? This specific type of meditation?
Yeah. So, I got an auntie that lives in Portugal. I mean, on my dad's side, grandmother. I think she's about half Portuguese. My dad's originally from East Timor. So, Portuguese settlement from my understanding back at the time. And so, so my grandma on my dad's side has a bit of Portuguese heritage. But yeah, I was traveling Europe when I was in my 20s. That was a time when I was learning how to meditate and I was doing a thing called NoFap actually. So NoFap is this sort of, it was a movement. So it was a movement. I still think it's still going, but it's just a place for young men, some women to, abstain from watching pornography and masturbation. So that was a prime motivator for me to actually really learn the meditation and doing the cold showers and all that. I felt like that was sort of something that I felt like that was the cause of a lot of my unhappiness, I guess. I saw a TED talk actually, it's called The Great Porn Experiment, which talked about the dangers of porn and masturbation and how pornography, watching that sort of spikes with dopamine levels. And so it sort of numbs you to everything else in life. You don't really get that same level of fulfillment from other things that would normally bring fulfillment, maybe very well as a wine or with your friends or, doing those, normal things that people would do. It sort of takes away from that. And I think that in combination with taking the cold showers and meditating, I had an experience one day where I was sort of, woke up in the morning and I remember it was very cold. I didn't really want to take this cold shower. I did it anyway and I was absolutely dreading it. when cold water hit my body, I know that my whole body just tensed up. And I just remember cleaning my mind, just trying to say anything to really just get through the situation. I remember just repeating it, it's just a sensation. It's just a sensation. It's not good or bad. And at one moment, something just clicked in my mind and my whole body just relaxed. And I accepted the situation. And I even began to enjoy the cold water. And even though a moment before, I was, absolute agony. I was like, not liking the situation. And I remember after finishing that cold shower, I would, as I normally would in my routine, I'd go up to my room, sit down, meditate. But this time, something was a bit different. Settled down to a level where the thoughts weren't as strong and almost non-existent. I remember having my window open and feeling the breeze coming in and just this feeling is absolute peace of mind that I never experienced prior to that in my life. And I remember that experience really sort of was a catalyst for really getting me interested in understanding what happened.
If you continue to sleep,
Right.
I'm joking. Kidding.
Yeah, that's it. But yeah, that's sort of like I feel like that was probably like the catalyst experience that sort of like set me foot on the path to really explore and understand the experience I went through.
Yeah, I guess just reflecting on my own experience. I was 22 as well, and I got into meditation. From what I'm hearing from you, it's like a similar thing. Sort of being locked into this trajectory in life, which you don't really want to do, but you're just in it, right? Like for me, there was a lot of different things I did like in economics street. I don't know fucking why. When I was interested in literature and science and all these other interesting things, right? Well, like economics is interesting, but I don't know. I don't know why I fucking did it. So I was sort of in this trajectory where I was living my life, like hating every day, feeling really confused, feeling really lost, feeling really anxious, like a lot of different emotions and not really generally having control, like over my mind, over anything really, right? And that's why I got into weight training. I got into like all this sort of self-improvement stuff, right? But at the core of it, when I think about it, I'm like, there was always this feeling of there's something wrong with me. I have to get better. I need to do something to fix myself because I'm not okay. With myself, with everything, with this. It was always like, I guess, trying to find something to get me out of my mind and into my body, whether that's riding motorcycles, whether that's, smoking cigarettes, whether that's, masturbation, whether that's chasing it was all kind of get out of the head, because just being in the head is so torturous sometimes. Do you relate to that at all? Like you're in reflection of what led you to, I guess, looking at these other avenues, right? Do you relate to that or?
Yeah, I mean, I used to be an overthinker, I would say. Like would, be in my head quite a lot of the time. Yeah, having like that experience of like not having many thoughts arise was quite relieving, yeah. So yeah, I can definitely relate to them. Yeah. Some degree.
Do you think the point of meditation is to not have things arise? Because I think a lot of people, when they think meditation, they think, oh, what you want to do is shut off your thoughts, because I guess everyone knows our thoughts are up. Right? Do you think that's what the point of meditation is? To shut off?
Not necessarily. I mean, if you do practice a lot and it's really in an environment where it's not really triggering or like there's not a lot of things going on, then naturally, the thoughts will start to subside. But, when we practice, we're still householders, we're still living in the world, we still have our jobs and we're still working and we're not monks basically. So we've got to have thoughts of, like different kinds of thoughts depending on like what's going on in our life at the moment. So it's not like it's the whole point of meditation isn't to subside the thoughts. Well, that may be a byproduct, but it basis. but really it's to develop sense of acceptance with whatever's happening. Like, I guess in our tradition, or where we're learning, Vipassana meditation, or some Vipassana insights, and we're trying to develop insight into sort of what's happening really in our own mind, sort of the nature of like our minds. And really understanding how, like our thoughts and the feelings we have in our bodies are all constantly changing. And like, really coming to that realization and observing that on a moment to moment basis, we can develop the sense of acceptance to it, because we understand that it's not a permanent thing. It's this changing thing. And there's no point holding on to a particular feeling or thought, because it's eventually going to change anyway. And so,
Quote, no, like the like catch flights, not feeling. Dot. That's for some reason something you said that brought that up, and you're like, just let go,
yeah,
just let go.
yeah.
Sus, did you want to explain, I guess, for our viewers, I guess, what's a tradition and what's a tradition? What's a tradition in respect to, because you're talking about traditions, right? And to people they might not know, right? So, there's different forms of meditation, right? And there's different things.
Like, just to define the word tradition, like a certain way of doing things for a certain group of people or organization becomes a tradition. Right? They think about, like, there could be a tradition for Manchester United as a team, as a club, right? They have a tradition of, I don't know, training their team, deciding their jerseys and organizing around their fans. So that's their tradition, right? Google or Facebook might have their own tradition, just company culture, ways of doing things, basically, and how they implement their values. And in general terms, people think of traditions as cultural tradition. And I think for the context of this podcast and for the context of meditators, there's different styles of meditating. And usually those different styles come from different schools of thought. And that's what we refer to as different meditation traditions or techniques. For example, the one the three of us have done, we follow a style of meditation in the tradition of our teacher. His teacher was Sayagyi Bakin. So that's the tradition, like how they taught us. We've been practicing meditation in that way. There's other ways of practicing meditation where there are rather monks, especially in, not just monks, but even lay people in Thailand, Myanmar, Cambodia, Lanka. They're practicing similar types of meditation, but in a different tradition. And so when we refer to tradition, it's this style of meditating. Or tradition just in, or tradition just in how?
Tradition in just like, I think the word tradition on like a lot of people gets lost and sounds like this big, fucking tradition, like word, like, it has a lot of baggage surrounding it, right?
And blind faith and blind and dogma.
But I guess if you really look at the word tradition is just a way of doing things. The order of event, it's what you do, right?
Correct.
And so our tradition is in style. The teacher is SM Goenka, whose teacher was Sayagyi Bakin, whose teacher was someone else.
But
if you track it all back, though, it comes from the teachings of Buddha, but it's sort of passed down in this way from teacher to student, to teacher to student, teacher to student. Right? And it sort of comes out, and it all starts off in one way from the Buddha, but comes down in a different color.
It's not even
a different way.
It's not even Buddha's original teaching. Right? He discovered it. It was one of the laws. It was a law. He discovered the law of the universe, and then he started teaching it to everyone else. And so basically, it doesn't even belong to the Buddha, right? So it's in this, And what we believe is we're practicing it in the tradition how the Buddha wanted, how he discovered his way to enlightenment through his meditation practices technique. And we believe that this is the technique that the Buddha was practicing and was most effective for him. And it's going to be most effective for the rest of us as well.
Just to add to that, I think also to know, I mean, the way we practice, I guess, is transmitted through RTGS and Goenka. It's not exactly how it's transmitted in different traditions, although the core of what we're taught is the same across most, Buddhist traditions, I think. but yeah, there's different ways that it's explained, and the methods of how it's taught differ to some degree.
Mhm.
I think it's more about the starting point. There's different starting points, and certain people have different levels of understanding, and so where a person may start will differ, but ultimately, once you reach a certain point, we understand across the traditions. I think that's a good thing to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. One thing that we believe in this type of tradition that we follow is that we're not attached to even the name, the tradition, which is called Vipassana. Right? And I've heard going to G say multiple times that if you call it anything else, as long as it works with the deeper level of the mind, the rooted level of the mind, Vipassana basically means insight, right? Insight. But you can call it whatever you call it, as long as you're working with what we do. With
Dogs.
dog food, you could.
Dogs.
If it works with the deeper level of the mind, right? And sometimes this is one of the questions that I ask myself. If this is one of the techniques that you can basically harness to get access to your the deepest subconscious or the subtlest level of the mind, are there other techniques, like as could running be one of them, run for longer periods of time, you go into a flow state, right? Will that give you, the deeper access to your deeper level of the mind? Or maybe, I don't know, whatever it is, but is there other way? But yeah, again, like the reason I don't too much to it is I already have this technique. I don't practice this. Otherwise, I'll just be intellectual.
I think there's one thing that I not like. I think Glencoe mentions it and they talks about how it's important to really choose one and really commit to it and hold credit well to get water. If you do one hole, do a full bit, and you stop, and you do another hole, keep on doing that, you never reach the water. I feel like that's a really good analogy. Like really, it's trying to test different things and finding one that works best for you. Really just stick with it. Really just apply it, dig the hole until you get the water. I think it's beautiful analogy that gives, and yeah. So I think
Yeah, you've dug pretty deep as well because you've just come out of a 20-day course.
yeah. So I first credit course, Pasada, whole boiling, near the whole through.
There's 20 days of continuous meditation for 9 hours a day.
Yeah. So
That's very serious.
yeah, it was. I was really inspired. I was hearing it about our friend Nick. We're finishing his first 20-day course, and I wrote and Suze actually went to see him. We had our brunch together, and we asked him about experience of the 20-day course. And I was very eager to learn about differences between doing a 20-day course, which is like the long course, the first long course you do.
How many 10-day courses?
So I've done 5-day courses, averaging about. But yeah, I remember speaking to Nick. I remember that day. He mentioned, the two things that I thought of two is, they really encourage you to keep your eyes downcast, looking at the ground, really trying to look at the nice scenery, the nature, the sunsets, and really focus your attention inwards. Because that's where you would really get to understand sort of what's happening in yourself, your mind, and your body.
Your subconscious.
Yeah.
And then what's physically happening to your body, it's subconscious. You sit down, there's all these thoughts, right? And normally in our day to day, we're like trying to take our thoughts and not really paying attention because then we're just living.
Yeah.
Right? When you're sitting, like those deep, dark, or light thoughts come up, right?
Yeah.
And then you feel things in your body too.
Yeah. So I think the one thing as meditators, we come to understand that both our mind and our body influence each other. And so when we have certain thoughts and emotions, it creates certain feelings, like physical feelings in our body. Vice versa, when we have certain physical feelings in our body. And seeing that relationship through our meditation, we begin to realize how they sort of relate to one another. And it really helps us to come understand ourselves and how certain stimulus in the outside environment affects us internally. And it really gives us the experience to knowing what can we shouldn't do. I mean, like for example, if you see something you don't like, angry, you start to feel like the thoughts of anger, like to harm someone or hurt this person, abuse this person, and how it affects the body, how it starts to feel this heat permeate throughout the body, and this sort of like tension that starts to develop, and it sort of feeds to one another where you feel that tension and heat, and sort of generates more and more sort of anger.
Just how,
Yeah, and it sort of like feeds into one another. But as we sort of practice more and more, sort of catch ourselves, because we practice observing how we're feeling in the body, the physical sensation. We train our mind as we meditate to not react. As we feel these sensations, sort of creating this sort of like pattern of like reacting, we can sort of catch ourselves, observe it, and just like not react, and just we sort of like bring out the memory, like not only but sort of training when we, I've heard like through the meditation courses that I'm seeing every day, morning and evening, those sort of meditation sessions sort of comes in and helps our daily lives in this way. We sort of, as we meditate, our whole practice, we're developing this habit of sort of catching ourselves, but sort of in these cycles and reactions.
Was it different for you, like the cycles, like 20 days of meditation versus 10 days? Was it like a big leap? Like, was it a big difference for you? What did you think? Or was it just like, it was just like any other meditation session?
like just to, before I get into that, I feel like for each meditation course, right? For me, it being your theme, it being like, okay, your subconscious has these certain repetitive, normal bullshit thoughts that we have, right? But then each course you go to, there's like a core deep issue, which is you're really rolling around that issue. On every course, the first one, particular girl,
There's a major theme.
I guess how that relationship relating to like childhood experiences, this sort of shit. My second one, I was trying to think what it was there. Theme was about death, like really, I guess, accepting the fact that, I could get like I've always had like a fear of like I guess everyone had that fear of like randomly getting cancer or some illness and just fucking being one of those people that die young. It's been like a really recurrent fear for me since I was a young child, and I might really want to dig deep into that. Right? The work that I did with this therapist called neuroemotional, right? Basically, it links like physical reactions, like physical reactions which you can't actually control the forebrain, right? To like events in your life, right? And what happens is basically, right? So I'll demonstrate on series, right? So what happens is basically, right? So you push, ask me a question, and put my hand. Ask me a question and put my hand. So hold on to my hand.
Yep.
Hold on to the top of my hand. I'll push it. Right? Ask me a question like, when was I? Just ask me some fucking random question.
Okay, yeah. How many cigarettes did you smoke? My whole
None. Hold the pressure. No. Like, up here.
How many cigarettes?
Yeah, I'm fucking it. Asking like a yes or no question.
You got it? Yeah.
I'll ask people if smoke any cigarettes and I'll say,
Have you smoked any cigarettes yet?
no, I didn't like it.
Okay. Have you had any cigarettes today?
So see, that's like, you ask me another question. Ask me another question with yes or no, but like make the answer be yes.
Yeah. Do you want your parents to come back from holiday?
To know that.
Do you love Tinto?
No, you're pushing too hard. Anyway,
What the point? You
Yeah,
can tell
okay.
us what the point is.
basically, you get asked these questions, and your body has some reaction based on the question.
Yeah.
You can track back in your life, in
Yeah.
certain periods of your life, to where significant things happen. And for me, I was born premature, and I almost died when I was born because I like the center was dead, and I wasn't getting fed, so I like they were surprised that I was alive when they, right? And I was like in incubator for a few days, right? So I linked my fear of death and like dying young, right? I don't fucking know if this is true, right? But I think that has some root there, right? Because there's no other experience in my life which can really relate to that, right? So for me, my second theme was really exploring death and dying, how that would feel, right? And then my third one was another battle. But yeah, what were your themes? I guess like maybe don't tell us about all of them, but like maybe a few of them, and then maybe go on to like, was there what was the theme in the 20 day?
Yeah. I'd say for me, after my first course, I think my first course, I had a bit of an ego. I felt like I was better form. I was really rolling into some crazy or having some crazy experience. But I think after that course ended and I was reflecting and I really like thought about what I went through, and I really, I tried, for the first 3 weeks, I tried to keep up the daily practice where they recommend doing when I'm morning when I'm leaving. But that was quite hard and difficult. So I started off with half an hour in the morning, half an hour in the evening. And then after every week, I'll raise it up by 5 minutes. I lasted about 3 weeks. I got to about 45 and got still really so got it and then sort of just dropped it. I think after I dropped it, I was sort of like, I wanted to sort of, initially I was like, let this, because it's more like a cop out excuse. I didn't want to, I just thought it was too hard to give up the practice. So I wanted to basically quit, basically, even though it did seem pretty logical about everything that was taught. I wanted to sort of quit because I was like, well, I looked up a bit of the stuff out there and it says I learned about teachers and our tradition. And the more I read that, it was quite easily, quite rational, or maybe more curious and more interested in what, like, kind of, uh, uh, how to, like, what, like, wrong, like, how to understand a bit and practice for. Pretty soon after I signed, but basically, I ended up serving, which I felt quite.
So just to focus in on the thing, was it ego that was involved in life? Do you think the ego is about the teacher, or do you think ego is about just you generally being egotistical, right? To like maybe authority figures or something like that, just in your life. And then this ego is sort of coming out and like projecting onto the teacher. I'm just talking from my fucking psychology degree.
Yeah. There is probably some element of that where, I didn't really respect authority because I feel like I didn't really, I like from a young age, I felt like I had to really do everything myself. Like if I really wanted to do something, I'd have to like go through like my own efforts and I really just like, like obviously I'll be like looking, like observing things and observing people and like learning from that. I really like put forth my own effort into doing things. I didn't really, I guess, seek the support of their some teachers initially. And I just sort of wanted to figure things out myself by listening to what, the teacher said, but really trying to figure it out. It made sense to me. And just sort of like applying and practicing in a way that I thought was based on what I was hearing and based on my own experience. I think for the first 4 courses, getting back to your original question, for me was really, really trying to understand technique and really practice it to perfection. I really wanted to like sort of like do it properly and really develop because it seemed really rational and it made so much sense to me. But I always found it difficult to maintain it in my daily life, with all the sort of things that happen. Yeah, and so I think by the end of like my fifth course and my 20th course, I think a lot of the thoughts I started having primarily relating to like relationships. And really,
Because you were in a relationship.
on my fifth course, I wasn't in a relationship, while I was really wanting to have a relationship, I think, in line with my practice as well. And I think in my 20th course, I was in a relationship at the time. So yeah, I think that those were like sort of all sort of like main things that sort of went to like the meditation, and then afterwards, and very close was like about having a relationship and and what I wanted and shit, what's created. I guess.
Interesting question. Do you think your meditation practice helps you in relationships with other people? Let's talk about relationships and whether you're dating. How does being a meditator or having a meditation practice, how do that help you in your relationship?
Yeah. So with meditation, I feel like because you're looking inwards, it helps you really understand your sort of yourself and your sort of the emotions that you experience. Sort of like you start to understand the causes of certain things and like how, during the course of our, practicing meditation, going these retreats, certain memories get triggered of the past. It sort of sheds light on certain ways of behaving that normally would be quite unconscious in most people. And so when you come to understand these things, you get greater emotional awareness yourself. It makes it easier to understand other people's sort of emotions and reactions to things because you have greater understanding of your own emotional reactions. So that's one aspect that I feel like is very helpful in relationships. But not only that, in our particular tradition, it's encouraged for us to go and volunteer and serve at the center while they're running courses. And these provide a very good opportunity to meet other people that are also meditators. We're in an environment where, it's quite supporting and we're practicing our meditation, but still dealing with people in somewhat stressful environment because we're working in the kitchen, cooking for a lot of people. We're in New South Wales and our main center is in the Blue Mountains, Lucky. And they usually cater for, each course caters for about 100 people. So we're cooking, with about 8 to 12 people, we're cooking for 100 people. And it's quite an operation. Your tension can rise in the kitchen, you have arguments that can potentially arise. And then we sort of get exposed to it, but we learn how to deal with the situation. And we learn to have like sort of this understanding and compassion to, to others when like these conflicts arise. And it allows us to develop a more sort of less self-centered way of being.
Yeah. You're kind to yourself and you're kind to others too.
Yeah.
And so just with that bound, like to improve relationships about anything. Sure. Yeah, you learn how to be kind to yourself and be kind to like lots of problems in, any type of relationships occur because, no kindness usually, no empathy. You can't think from other person's shoes. And immediately, as soon as you can do that, and if you can continuously do that, changes all of it.
Yeah. I remember the first time I volunteered. I wanted to sit a 10-day course again, but there was no openings, right? So, I volunteered to sit over there and I didn't know what was going to happen. I was like, I still had this vibe of like, I did my first meditation course and I didn't stick to any meditation practice or anything like that. I went straight back to my way, But something had switched inside me since I did that course where it's almost as if afterward this awareness just awoke, and whenever I was doing something, I was aware of it. If I was smoking, cigarettes or drinking, smoking weed or, eating something even bad, right? It's like my mind could trace the path of, of that cigarette and the feeling which happens after the cigarette, right? Fumes in the lungs, right? You got drinking in the morning, right? You got drinking all night, you feel really, really good, but as it wears off, right, you start to feel bad, so you just pump it up and you want to feel better and better and better. You wake up in the morning and you're really feeling that dehydration and you feel a bit down, feel a bit anxious, right? And then with eating something bad, you eat it, and then later on you can trace that path of that thing feeling really bad, right? So it's like, fuck is this shit? Like beforehand, I was just doing all these things, enjoying them, not really, I guess, aware of the bad effect of them, Maybe all these things I'm doing, like they're not actually like leading to happiness, right? Which I thought they were, right? Well, that's binge eating, binge wanking, binge smoking, right? I could really trace, right?
the pleasure and misery which led after those events. And I think, yeah, when I first got into the organization, right, I was a bit suspect. You know, weirdos all smiling and looking all monk like peaceful and shit. And I was like, I think, fuck, man. I just want, I was just like, I was like, it's like 23, right?
Yeah.
24 maybe.
You just want to be zen.
I know, I don't want to be zen, but like, honestly, the main thing I was thinking about is just girls, fun, life, But there was always this draw to this path of meditation because it's like I just knew all these things that I'm chasing, even though I want them, but I know that. So I went there, I served, right? And I remember I was like to everyone, like, I was like to the teacher out there. So on a meditation course, you have like a teacher who's running the course, right? It's a teacher, right? And I was like to him, like, can you talk and stuff? Like, yeah, you can talk, right? But like, obviously you have to talk in a kitchen for the kitchen to run, right? Like, we have noble speech, and noble speech is like, you don't say fuck, you don't say shit, I think on this podcast, like the boys would prefer if or Jordan would prefer if I had noble speech, but they can't be controlled because I'm not noble. But yeah, like the whole point of noble speeches is you want to keep things a bit contained, right? Because if we start talking like how we are in the outside world, like shit can get carried away, like you can just completely be off course and, you're meant to be running a kitchen in a meditation center. You're a brothel. Right? Yeah. I went there and I was washing dishes all day, but I was surrounded by these people who were like meditating. We were all here to like one common objective of running this kitchen, to run this course to feed these people. And it was just so much positivity from like all of us to get, because when you're a server, you have to meditate 3 hours a day, morning, afternoon, and then nighttime, right? Because of course, like people who are meditating, like they're meant to meditate 10 hours a day. The people who are serving them, right? Like we also need to be mentally stable as well. Otherwise, like kitchen goes into uproar, like, no one's going to get fed, right? So basically experience, it was honestly like just working with those people just in that environment. It was one of the most amazing experiences in my life. I've never felt so happy and so content. And listen, like I was washing fucking dishes, right? Like everyone hates washing dishes. And I volunteered to wash the dishes every day. So like, fuck, I love this, right? We're just like in the kitchen, just joking around, talking, like it was just a cycle of positivity.
Yeah.
And yeah, like I was like, for the first, like I thought about it, right? I was like, because I'd washed dishes in the past. I'd washed dishes before that, or after that as a kitchen hand and stuff like that. And I was miserable. I'm getting money, right? I shouldn't really be miserable. And I'm like, why is it that I'm here? I'm not getting anything out of it, right? I'm doing this for free, right? Like, why am I so happy, right? Because there's this, I think in a way, there's this loss of focus on self, right? Because when you're in the outside world, you're washing dishes. Why are you washing dishes, right? You're washing dishes because you have to fucking earn money so you can fucking buy clothes and go around in the world. It's all like fucking support this worldly character, right? But if you're washing dishes there, you're just there. Yeah. And also, I think with that, I guess because we sort of know the experience of sitting our own courses and meditating for the course for 10 hours a day, and constantly being fed, by all these people that are not getting paid, teachers doesn't get paid, we understand the experience of, living off the charity of others and all the food, the accommodation is being provided by us.
Because it's all free. You don't pay anything.
Yeah, it's all
No
free.
cost. Yeah.
No cost at all. So we understand, we're getting fed by the generosity of people that have come before us and the people that are actually cooking this food. And so when we do it, we understand that the people that are actually sitting in the course are feeling the same way. They haven't, they're living off the charity of others and the good wishes, the goodwill of other people. And, to be able to facilitate that experience of, providing that experience where they don't have to worry about any mundane thing. They don't have to worry about cooking their food. They don't have to worry about what. They don't have to worry about anything besides meditating and, really developing that peace of mind. So, yeah, that's why I personally think that's why it's such a enriching experience when you go and volunteer.
Yeah, I definitely think, when certain people come together with a mindset, right? Like I didn't actually even think about that, right? Because I'm like just thinking about myself and how much of a negative person I still am, right? I would say, right? Or like, we're all aware of the negativity inside of us, right? And I feel like sometimes we classify ourselves as these emotions that we're feeling and we put it onto ourselves as like another identity, right? And I think even when I went there, I was feeling quite negative when I went, right? Right? But obviously, right? Like if you're a person who's meditating or like trying to meditate, right? And like, and you're coming here to volunteer, right? You're a certain kind of person, right? I'm not saying you're a fucking saint, right? Obviously you're trying to be good, trying to be better. You're trying to be aware, right? And when you have all these people who have those same goals, right? Because no one fucking gets into meditation to make money or like get girls or like fucking like all these things in the world that help it. Like people don't really do meditation for it, right? We do it to be better people, to be more peaceful, right? And why do we want to be better and more peaceful people? So we can fucking relate to people better and not have them feel bad, not have ourselves feel, right? Tell them what sadhu means. Sadhu means well said. Yeah. I think I'm explaining things because I want people to listen to this podcast, right? And if we just have too much terminology and I feel like alienate people, and make them think like we're in a special club. Like we're in a club, right? When you use the word, sometimes it alienates people and makes it think like, oh, we're in a club. Like, what do I have to do to fucking sign up?
No, I definitely agree with that.
Yeah. So sadhu is like a Indian Pali term to.
Yeah. Apparently back in the day when the teachers said something insightful or gave a discourse or gave a good talk, then everyone listening would say sadhu 3 times. And sadhu literally translates to well said. Whatever you said was well received. Thanks for saying it.
Like, well done.
Well done. Well done for that speech. Yeah.
Watch out. Yeah. Tintu's a bit, Tintu's this dog over here. He doesn't meditate. We should though. He's a bit erratic. Like if you touch him in the wrong way, he might bite you. He knows I'm talking about it. I love him. But yeah, I think the thing to talk about is another time I've experienced like the power of intention and people getting together, right? And then the place where everyone is just has like a different vibe to it, like a charge, right? We went to the vegan festival, right? Remember? Right? Like even though we're not fucking, one of our friends is a vegan, me and Sus, we're not vegan. We've got a lot of shit there for that, right? Actually, we didn't even get that much shit, right? But vegan festival is a festival which happens every month in Sydney. And we just went because whatever, right? We noticed the vibe there was unlike any other festival or food festival that we went to. It's like, I hadn't slept the whole night before, right? Because I was coming off like a bender or something, right? And like, we were high, remember? We were like high just on being there. Like, and I remember there's 2 guys who were like, high, right? Because it was just like, there's all these people here who are like conscious, they're making products which aren't harming the environment, they themselves don't want to harm the environment. They don't want to kill animals, right? Like, and I was like one of those shit talker about vegan people, like, oh, fuck with your vegan shit. You think you're better than me, right? But everyone was so nice. Everyone was so nice. And people were like, we meat or something, because they said we were vegans, right? And I was like, yeah, they weren't too upset about the meat thing, But yeah, it's an interesting thing about, I guess, like, then like, it sort of explains why people go to a meditation center to really meditate, right? Or you go to serve. Why? Because there's an energy there. There's an energy there which you can like feed into and contribute to, right?
Mm.
You know, like as opposed to like if you went to like just a fucking park or like, I even noticed today, like when three of us were meditating, it was much stronger, because it's like you're supporting each other, right?
Yeah. Yeah. It's a great thing to like, get together to meditate. From my personal experience, actually, like, being at the center and going to different centers, the environment's very different to, being on the outside, being inside, the sense of calmness, you don't really get on the other places.
Call it a retreat for a reason.
Yeah.
You really get to retreat.
Yeah.
Get into magic before or after? Did you start learning and doing magic before you started meditating or after?
Yeah. So I was really into like card magic and just performing, I guess. I got really into it in a very young age. I had an uncle actually that when I was a kid, showed me a magic trick, like card trick, and that sort of just piqued my interest. And I think throughout my childhood, like especially later on, like during when I was in high school, like the later years when I was about 15, 16, 17, I really sort of started like learning magic. One, because I had another friend in high school that was sort of learning at the same time, and it was I guess the way of me breaking out of my shell and really starting to really be a bit more extrovert. I think I was a bit shy and introverted as a kid, and didn't have too many friends. I think, and I really wanted to break out of that and maybe like friends, and I thought magic was a way to really do that and really just get to meet new people. I found it to be quite useful during my first year at university, first and second year, actually, I'd say.
Were you doing tricks
Yeah.
to make friends?
Yeah. I'd go up to strangers, like be asking them, let's see a magic trick. Like those times where, I remember I had a friend that, we could go out and like talk to girls, random girls in the street. So I, try to pick up. Yeah. Like just get to meet women and just try to form a relationship. So I did that a few times with him. Not that much.
Just chatting with girls.
Yeah, show them a magic trick and, get their number or whatever. But yeah, those are fun times, early university years. But yeah, primarily I did it to like really make friends. But yeah, that was before I got into meditation. I did it for some time, but I felt personally there was a bit of a conflict with the magic tricks and sort of the life of a meditator. Not so much now, I think. I feel like there's a bit of a distinction, like everyone knows, card tricks is this, it's just for fun. It's not, everyone knows it's not real because there's some sort of trick behind, you just play the hand. So long as both parties know it's, it's a trick and no one's trying to deceive, and I think it's fine. Like I think, living a meditative lifestyle.
Sound like cheating on a poker game.
Watch out, sis. Watch out.
Like, like whatever. Doing like being a meditator. Yeah. So being a meditator, living like a meditative lifestyle, we sort of follow these 5 precepts, like not to kill, not to steal, not to lie, not to avoid like sexual misconduct, and to avoid taking intoxicants like drinking, drugs. And like the precept about not lying, I felt like that these 5 precepts are meant to support our meditation practice. And like if you break any one of these precepts, it sort of throws up the mind a little bit. If you have to lie about something, if it's not the reality, the truth, typically you have to keep it in mind because someone catches you out on it, like you have to remember that you said this lie, but like not in line with what the reality. Because if things are the truth, then you don't have to remember it because the truth, it's the reality. So it's always going to be. So I think with the magic, like initially when I started off, I always felt like there's a bit of a conflict because you're obviously deceiving people, like when you're doing things, you're sort of like have to manipulate the situation so that, they're not seeing certain things. And so you can sort of trick them into like, like the way, like just to show them something extravagant, like not within the normal scope of reality, to kind of surprise them, I guess.
Yeah, I think because we'll have like people from all different walks of life, should ask people what they do for a living. Like, what do you do for a job? I don't mention the company or anything, Or maybe not even like what you do for work.
Yeah. Me?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I currently work at a bank in the credit space. So I primarily help brokers, with their car loan application
Mhm.
and sort of like helping them with any questions and ensuring, excuse me, and provide them with like documents and then it's in line with our policy. Nothing too interesting, I'd say. I think for me, I really, sort of like the fact that my company is quite supportive of like supporting like work-life balance and allowing me to have time off work to do what I find that's important. And for me, that's, volunteering at the centers and spending time with my friends and family. So yeah, so I think it's good in that regard. Yeah, I don't feel particularly inclined in any sort of career per se. And so for me, I think where my passions really lie, helping other people sort of learn how to meditate. So that's why I'm like volunteering at centers and
Yeah.
yeah.
You do quite a lot of it, right? The volunteering and visiting the centers.
Yeah, like my free time. I'd say like on average I go once or twice a month.
Should we wrap it?
Yeah, right.
We've been going on for an hour and 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's so easy to keep talking. I used to think how people would record a podcast that are 2-3 hours long, right? It's just so easy to go through it. Yeah, so that's episode number 2.
Yeah.
Yeah, thanks for joining us, Jordan. It was really interesting. We'll do it again sometime soon.
That's it. That's exciting.